All right, welcome to my FX Buddies, the podcast. And yes, I'm talking low. So guess what? It sucks. I know. And because there's some really good information on this one, and I really want to talk a lot louder, but this cannot wait till tomorrow. So I have to do this now, and I'm thinking tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, may even be a heavier news day. So all right, so quiet your environment, turn up your volume, breathe. I'm just kidding. I know. Uh, but seriously though, and yeah, maybe if you're listening like on speaker, try to get some earphones. I apologize. Okay, so we're just going to get right into it. This is my FX Buddies, the blog. I just do have to say, if this is your first time listening, welcome. The best way to engage with this content, especially if you're new to me, is to go to the blog because the articles that I'm going to be covering, they're there in the order that I'm going to cover them in the video so you can read along. And then you might be like, what is she saying? Then you can rewind it and read. And it just, for some people, it helps make the articles make more sense. Okay, but you need a link to get to the blog. Okay, so wherever you are enjoying this content, look for a prompt of more info, intro, description, something of that nature. Click on it. Another box is going to open. You might have to click it twice if you're on a mobile device. And it'll be blue, and it'll say my FX Buddies, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And you click on that and it takes you to the blog. You don't have to put your email in. I don't sell anything and it's free. Okay? All right, let's get into it. So today was Tuesday, August 26th. And this is the most recent. So what we were waiting for, let me speak for myself, what I was waiting for was some resolution on the Kurds getting their salaries, right? At least a decision. We knew it wasn't going to happen today, but getting a decision. So that meeting went well. This is the most recent. This was like 3 hours ago from the time that I'm recording, which is like 11:20 California time. So I called this Kurdistan Salaries. Baghdad sends funds, but with strings attached. So right now, I don't have anything saying the funds have been sent. They agreed to send them, right? I'm just letting you know. But it even says in this article that it's been sent, okay? The payment letter is presented to, there she is, I just call her Miss Sami. She's the finance minister, Iraqi finance minister. Miss Sami has been appointed to pay the 6-month salary, so that's June, of the Kurdistan Regional Government. Meanwhile, 120 billion dinars of Kurdistan's domestic revenue will be handed over to the Erbil. Now see, this is new details. The Erbil branch of the Central Bank of Iraq. So, there was an article yesterday that said Baghdad is demanding they send Kurdistan send 100% of their non-oil revenues. Remember, and I was like, that doesn't seem right. So this is a big compromise. So yes, they're sending it to the CBI, but their branch of it. So, right? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Okay. So big picture. The Iraqi Council of Ministers met on Tuesday and they said, okay, we'll pay the 6-month salary, but you need to send the 120 billion dinars of domestic revenue to Baghdad. This Ava Abla, whatever, that's the news site. They learned that the 120 billion dinars have been prepared and collected in the Kurdistan region. If administrative procedures are not completed today, why does it say Thursday? Oh, the process will move to Thursday. Okay, so, all right. So, sending 120 billion dinars of domestic revenue, which is also, they call it non-oil revenue, as a condition set by Iraq to send more than 950 billion dinars for the 6-month salaries of Kurdistan Regional employees. So they're sending 120 billion and then they're going to get 950 billion back. That's what it seems like, right? All right, what is expected? After the handover of the 120 billion dinars, the procedures for sending money from the Iraqi Ministry of Finance and the central bank will begin. If the administrative routines and all the paperwork are completed quickly, the money is expected to be sent on Thursday. Conversely, if it is delayed, the process will fall on the following Sunday, the 31st of the month. You know, that just happens to be the day before a certain person's birthday, right? Anyway, meanwhile, the Ministry of Finance and Economy of the Kurdish region told the news that the salary distribution schedule will be announced in a few hours and the distribution will start the next day. Okay, so that's pretty much repeat. Then there's more than 400,000 employees that receive their salaries through ATMs, whatever, right? Okay, so there was a resolve, but they don't mention anything about the oil. So maybe today we'll hear about the oil. Now look, Rafidan Bank. What significant just happened with Rafidan Bank? They signed with K2 Integrity, right? Now look at this. Approximately 87% of foreign debt settled. You could read this if you like. Some people like articles like this. It just says that about 80% of their old debt to Dutch and French creditor companies has now been negotiated. See that? So it doesn't mean they actually paid it. But look at Curacao. Curacao. That's another place I like to say. And I want to go there one day. Anyway, so the bank, through its legal and international team, was able to close all lawsuits filed by Dutch companies before the Curacao court after reaching final legal settlement arrangements. So see, they were settled. That doesn't mean they got paid. They could have got a promise to pay, you know. So yeah. And then here's another article that's longer that has more details if you'd like to read that. But this didn't just happen overnight, right? I mean, it's just been what, a week, maybe 2 weeks since they started with K2 Integrity. Well, and this has been actually lingering since I think 2004 or 6. You know, that Paris Agreement thing. So this is a good sign. I think it's a good sign they're wrapping up their debt because you'd rather wrap up your debt in the cheap, lower money, right? Than in the more expensive money, right? So I think that's a good sign. All right. This came out. Central bank reforms boost investor confidence and open the way to global markets. Who is this? Jabari. Oh, chairman of the Osul Foundation for Economic and Sustainable Development, affirmed on Tuesday that the reforms led by the CBI are fundamental and have contributed to transforming the banking sector from a restricted reality to one open to the world. I love that. I love that. Okay, so then there's more. This is a really positive article. In fact, you might even want to share this with people who are down. Not the ones that say, oh, it's we heard all of this before. Not those ones, but ones who are still hopeful. I think this episode will keep them connected. All right. So Iraqi banks welcomed these reforms because they are an indispensable necessity. Investors are always looking for two basic answers: the status of the banking sector and the country's tax system. If reassurance is achieved in these two aspects, investments begin to flow. We like flow, don't we? All right. And financial technology and digital transformation are also a fundamental pillar of these reforms, and they are not limited to banking policies alone, but rather encompass all aspects of banking operations. This positively impacts all economic sectors such as blah, 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 right? And then look at this sentence that is just thrown in here. Earlier, CBI Governor Ali Allah confirmed that banking reform would boost international confidence and restore relations with correspondent banks. But I do think that goes back to 2 Sundays ago when they had that, remember they had that conference, whatever it was, and he said good things. Okay, here's an article about the budget, but I'm going to skip it for time's sake. It's just, it's the guy whose last name is Antoine, and he said that if they don't get this 2025 budget done, the 2026 budget done, it will also have to resort, see right here, 2026, it will also have to resort to this 112 mechanism. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. It's not important. Okay. Here's a banking consultant, and he was on TV. Is that him? Yes. Here he is. But it's, of course, it's all in Arabic, and it's 10 minutes. I might try to translate, but 10 minutes is that's a long transcription to copy and paste and copy and paste and copy and paste. He's saying he's looking at the picture of where they are right now, which does look bleak, right? Plus, he's for the private banks, which is different than the state banks, which is different than the Islamic banks. So he's like, there's a structural crisis. Yeah, we kind of know that, but they're working on banking reforms. And in his opinion, the banking sector is still far from international standards. But he is not in government. He's a private banking advisor. So it may be his job to point out what they need to improve on, right? If he's the advisor. So maybe that's why, because this is kind of written like a report, not an article. And see how he says they need to establish digital banks. Now, they do only have a few. I think they're up to 4 totally digital banks because people didn't receive them well. They actually had to they had to make a brick and mortar branch of a digital bank to get people to come in. Right? So, yeah, so maybe that's why we're going to go with that. He's their advisor telling them what they need to do better and more of. Okay, Iraq faces internal debt. Yeah, we know that. So it seems the debt is higher, but at least he gives them gradual solutions to eliminate it, which doesn't really matter because if they're able to change their rate and put out the new money, then, right, that's their issue solved. All right, there's some really interesting things with the troops. If you're going to read an article about the troops, I would read this one. That's why it's the first one under the word troops. So it looks like oh wait, is this the one? Political sensitivity. Okay, no, this isn't it. But this is important. So Iraqi PM, that's him. What's his name? Yes, Sudani. Iraqi PM reveals U.S. warning against armed groups if PMF bill proceeds. So guess what we did? Sudani has told members of the coordination framework, which are the Iranian-backed politicians, right, that Washington warned Baghdad it would target, I don't like to say that word, but oh well, 16 bases of armed groups in Baghdad and other provinces if they proceed with the PMF bill. Do you hear me? Do I need to define that? That's gangster. Oh, so you still playing around with that bill, huh? Let's see. How many bases do you have with 16? You got 16 bases with your little militia people? Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're gonna pull that bill? Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's how I kind of think that conversation went, but it probably didn't. But yeah, so that happened on August 22nd. And they ultimately decided to suspend the bill. So yeah, so there it is in writing. Now, we may have heard that. We may have felt there was some leaning on. Can we say that? Leaning on to get what we want. And there it is in black and white. And I do believe it. All right. So yeah, you can read this. Political sensitivities, you think? So they're still having a problem with the unity, making the one Iraq. But here, see that word there? The leaning on. But that's the real word. All right. So at first he denied it, but now he's like, you know what? I'm going all out. Plus, he went and told the framework, and they probably leaked it out. Because this article doesn't quote Sudani, and I didn't see this. This is in Kurdish news. I didn't see this in Baghdad news, so I thought that was interesting too. All right, here, U.S. troop convoy leaves the base. Yeah, this is we already knew this too, but this is Kurdish news also. This was in Kurdish news, but yeah, so they're not leaving. They're going to Syria and Kurdistan. Now, let's see. Here, I think I covered this yesterday. I'm not sure though. So this guy, Alusi, he warned whoever he's talking to, Sudani, the defense minister, I don't know. I don't know who he's talking to. But he was like, you need to go to Washington and you need to beg. No, he doesn't say beg. But you need to tell them we don't want the troops to go. And see these two names right here that I said we're going to start popping up is ×2. And the other one that George W. used to say, Washington is no longer counting on factions to confront extremists. Okay, now keep that thought. So here, this is what he told them. He said neither Ice Cream Land nor any other country in the region would dare to drop kablooies on Iraq while the Americans were there. But in their absence, there will be no protection. Then you, Iraqi government, will bear the responsibility for any aggression, whether it's Ice Cream Land, Turkey, or even is ×2. That's deep. That is deep. Okay, and here is another person. See, different name. Basically the same message. With any potential aggressive action, the U.S. president is no longer responsible for Iraq after his withdrawal to Kurdistan. So he's like, if anything happens, it's on you. Right? So, yeah, this is a good one too. And then there's a little bit of history. And let me see, is this the one? One of these articles has a lot of the U.S. president's name in it. And I wanted to give you a warning. I know some people get triggered by that name. But there are now changes in the political map of the region, culminating in the fall of the guy who used to run Syria and the rise of the new guy. This has given America room to maneuver, but that doesn't mean the U.S. president will exclude Iraq from his plans. So they're getting lots of warnings. Lots of warnings. Okay, look at this picture. This is the Council of Ministers. Look, they all have laptops. I'll say 3 months ago, they were sitting there just with notes. They didn't have laptops. Now they all have laptops. So I think it's getting serious. I think their work is getting serious. All right. Ooh, look at that's pretty big there. If you'd like to support my FX buddies, which is just me, it's just a little me by myself. I don't have a team. I don't have contacts. I do. Some people will send me articles. I just wanted to make sure you saw this article. Like this one. I'm sure you guys saw this. You know, all the banks are going to be closed on September 1st. And not just because it's my birthday either, but it's a holiday. It's Labor Day. So I don't know why they're making such a big deal of this. I've had it sent to me like 3 or 4 times now. So, and I thought this was a British, oh, it says US edition. Okay. But wouldn't that be something? They shut down all the banks on the 1st, and September 2nd, we wake up in a whole new world. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? All right, but anyway, so these are all the ways that you can give, big or small. I appreciate it all. Cash App, lowercase, Tish Wash, and the same for PayPal. Yeah, so thank you in advance for your generosity. Okay, well, we got 8 minutes. Okay, so here's news from Kurdistan. Erbil Chamber of Commerce opens doors for cooperation with business owners in Saudi Arabia. So that's good. If you want to read that, you can. But we're running short on time. I can't remember if I talked about this here yesterday or not. I don't think so, though, because it says today. So nephew Barzani, he spoke on an upcoming visit to Sulaymaniyah and Baghdad. So I guess he's going to stop by because the PUK leaders are in Sulaymaniyah. Oh, and you know what? Let me see. No, I'm not going to be able to find it. But apparently, there were some attempts to take out Pavel Talabani and Kubat Talabani, but they were thwarted. I'm like, do you really think the people are happy if they're trying to take you out? Might that be a message? Anyway, so for now they're safe. And then this guy right here that they had a strike, or not strike, they had a demonstration, and I think 2 or 4 demonstrators are no longer in the land of the living. He's related to this guy right here, Pavel Talabani. So something's going on, and I don't think it's fully settled. It's not, there's no more violence, and things are peaceful, and traffic is flowing and everything, but I don't think it's over. Okay, let's see. What have the Kurds in Baghdad agreed on? You could actually skip this because the other article that I read was more recent. Here, the procedures for sending 120 billion dinars, so you could skip that. Okay, so now we're in the other section. We got 5 minutes. Here, Tehran is ready to resume negotiations with Washington provided non-aggression guarantees are met. So you could read that if you like, but I don't know if they can make that. This is a must read. Must. Iraq negotiates with the U.S. lobby, searching for a voice behind the walls of Washington. Now, if you don't know how Washington works, well, I don't either, but I do know. It's not the senators, it's not the other people, it's the lobbyists. So if you're going to try to buy some politicians, that's who you need to buy. You need to buy some lobbyists. I used to say I want to be so rich I can buy me a senator. And then I learned, someone told me, no, you don't want a senator. You want a lobbyist. So isn't that crazy that and this is a weird translation, but this guy right here, he's the advisor of foreign relations for Sudani. He revealed that Iraq is negotiating with lobbying firms to convey the government's viewpoint to decision makers in Washington on a number of issues. Now, this is dated today. Maybe it might be dated yesterday. So they don't need to be talking about this PMF law anymore because that ain't happening. But they did talk about other things. So isn't that interesting? Sudani and the U.S. president is due to each party being preoccupied. The lack of communication, the lack of communication between those two. So you see that? Lack of communication is due to each party being preoccupied with issues far removed from the other. But they want to remind us the first call was very friendly. I mean, they both have been busy, right? Basically dealing with, right here. They should be working on principles of trade instead of the 3-letter word for aggressive actions. So I feel this is a must-read article. And it's under the Others section. Mashadani calls on American companies to invest in Iraq. Okay, we're going to skip that. Okay, look at this. So yesterday we talked about Motorola, right? Motorola products are now coming into Iraq. Vodafone Iraq will soon be operational. The first calls being made in these governance. So Vodafone Iraq will soon begin offering 5G services exclusively for a period of 3 years. The first call will take place in the coming weeks in Baghdad, Karbala, Najaf, and Babylon. So I think that's neat. And then here's another one here they are actually signing. And it says goodbye 4G, but I think that means 4, the number 4, and the letter G, 4th generation, right? Because they're moving on to 5th generation. Vodafone Iraq is coming with 5G. And Minister, I don't know how to say that. That actually looks like a Jewish name, doesn't it? Anyway, is waiting for the first ring. So I think that's her. I think she's the communications, technology and communication, Minister of Communications. Oh, so see, that's the correct spelling of her name. All right, so if you want to read that, oh, it says, and the internet will get faster too. Yeah, now, will they have the electricity to keep it on? Oh, all right, we're done. Well, okay, we're done, but I have some other little goodies. Now, What's the sign of some people that are living well? When they can have a most beautiful dog competition, right? And here they do. Look how cute. So, I guess there was something called World Dog Day. I didn't know. Look at that. I love those poodles when they're well kept. Like, 'cause they got a little afro. This is the first time they've had this festival in Sulamania. Look at, she got a little bow tie on her doggy. And then there's some other pictures. But, okay, so that's a sign of money, right? Broke people ain't having dog grooming and, they get special diets. Look, it's wearing shoes. They are wearing shoes. See, broke people can't afford shoes for their dogs. Let me pull that up. Can you see that? Well, I guess they're socks, but I would call them shoes. Okay, let me see. Oh, I will not post this, but look. This is the name of this pizza place. Well, it was the name. You see these people in camouflage locking it up? They got shut down, so it was called UK Pizza. And this is in Erbil. So they had to apologize to the Christians because they used a scene of the Last Supper, but instead of bread and wine, they're eating pizza and French fries and soda, and it's called The Last Slice. Yeah, they got shut down. Okay. And look, they had an art for peace debuts in Kurdistan's Sulamania, and I don't know what it is. I love this picture. Maybe because the sparkles, because I like sparkles. I know, I'm an adult. Yes, I'm an adult. But I like gold and I like sparkles. But look at that. Isn't that pretty? And then here, that's pretty. Why are there some shoes over there? Let's see. So nice artwork. I'm thinking, where did they see a scene like that? But maybe, I think it snows in Kurdistan. And a wolf, and look at this. Yeah, so I think, is that it? Oh, there's a few more. This is nice too. I like this. It's like a night. I think that's nighttime, right? That's the moon. And I really like that too. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe you know what that is. I don't know. And a deer. So yeah, what's this? People sitting around talking. Oh, that looks like fire, huh? And then that's nice. And look at that white wintry scene. All right, so I just thought I'd share that with you. All right, so we went over 3 minutes. I hope you don't mind. We can't always just talk about, doom and gloom stuff. So yeah, so this is Tuesday's update. Let's look forward to Wednesday to get more good stuff. Thank you. Remember, hit that thumbs up on your way out. And you don't even have to go, because when this video ends, a little icon's going to pop up if you missed the previous edition. You just click on that and it will play automatically. Thank you to my supporters. Shout out to my sponsors. And accumulate while we wait for the rate to appreciate. Don't miss any meals and pay all your bills. Enjoy the rest of your morning, night, noon, whatever time frame it is that you are indulging in this content. And until next time, which will be tomorrow.